Serious. What was sex education in your school? CT Public School, early 2000s. Our sex ed was great. The science teachers did a 2 or 3 week unit and covered lots of really good information. I wasn't taught any of the awful church crap that a lot of people hear at that age. Our teachers made a point of finding ways to answer awkward questions, like leaving out an anonymous question box and then answering the questions for the whole class later. I really appreciate that our town did a good job. My school has a project where students can sign up to become sex educators. About 30 people get chosen between all the students that are interested. These people have to speak first with a psychologist and then they can take classes about sexuality. When they are ready, they go teaching sex ed to all the school students. The conversation between peers is easier than between adults and teenagers. For the South, our sex ed was about abstinence instead of safe sex. What a surprise that my graduating class had about 10 pregnancies. Paranoia levels of precaution. It was explained to me in 7th grade that I had a 60% of pregnancy without a condom and pull-out method only. Scared the crap out of me for years, till my wife and I ended up spending nearly 4 years of trying to have my daughter. Moral is, those classes don't represent every situation, just the most cautious. It was, I think, 3rd grade. How periods work, how boys go through puberty. We got our first pads, panty liners and tampons. We got menstrual calendars. What is birth control? That you should be first sure that you want to lose your virginity, and the best way is to wait till you are 18 years old. What bad touch is. How to say no, that you shouldn't be embarrassed when your period starts, that boys are more horny than girls when they're teens, and what better when you find yourself being badly touched. Dutch education here. So in middle school, kids got the human reproductive system as a part of biology. This was in 2005-2006. Basically the human body with organs and hormones like a damn Wikipedia page. I guess you could call it informative. Except for the fact that 99,999% of all kids by the age of 12 already know more than that there is to know about sex here. It'd offer vital information about the menstruation cycle, ovulation and condom usage though. No information about sexuality, nor sex itself was too heavy or anything. Full-on videos looking at a woman's vagina and stuff. Even the teacher was honest about her own experience. Went to a Catholic school. It varied significantly by teacher. The one was pretty straightforward, even though it was a Catholic school and the church has a stick-up its ass about contraception. I think this teacher was resigned to the fact that sex was going to happen, so at the very least we should know what was what. He especially wanted to address stuff that was straight-up bullshit like standing sex preventing pregnancy. Wasn't afraid to answer questions, but he often inserted a, well, the church would prefer you not, but. Another teacher was just straight by the book. No imagination, not interesting, not thorough, but you got their gist and what information they shared was pretty accurate. A third one was just pants on head crazy. Like, she actually taught shit that could probably get her friggin' excommunicated, and I'm pretty sure she had literal brain damage. The last one I knew of, I never had a class with. I'm told it was unremarkable aside from a strong emphasis on things will be much easier if you just don't do it. Abstinence only. Oh, and a particularly traumatizing visual exercise about a partially unwrapped candy in a bowl being the last one left that no one wanted. All the wrapped candies were people who kept their virginity, and when it came time for marriage, the people picking the candies out of the bowl would push aside the partially unwrapped candy, the one who didn't save their virginity for marriage, because no one wanted a candy that had already been unwrapped and touched. I resent him for the several kinds of fucked up things they taught me that helped me make some pretty big life decisions based on fear. Nazarene Christian school, by the way. In middle school, the teacher started out with this line: once a kid asked me if he should masturbate with a vacuum. That started things off on a lighter note. We did have to watch a lot of shitty videos on STDs that were probably made before most of us were born. In middle school, we had a 10 to 15 minute class once, and it was just a breakdown of all the good stuff. Anyway, they also provided us with these robotic babies that we had to take care of. We had to feed, change, and rock the robot baby, and yes, it would cry all the time. I was up till about 2 or 3 a.m. trying to get it to fall asleep. I think not having kids is the best choice for me now. It wasn't anything. Our teacher told us that if you kiss while naked you immediately become pregnant. Kinda late, but got a chip in here. I taught that a woman releases a special chemical in her brain right after sex that makes her attached to the man for the rest of her life, because he made that happen. Only women though, and only your first. My parents were so hellbent on this that me and my mom often argued about it. She was adamant that I could barely know the guy, yet this would happen and it would ruin my life. She was that convinced. As a teen, they didn't like my boyfriend and used this to say I won't know who he will grow up into. In high school you've known him only a few years. This will forever taint your life when you eventually get married, etc. Very strong belief they hold. Many other misconceptions as well, but that's the craziest. Others include tampons cause infertility because the ovaries cannot air out. Having cold feet outside leads to infertility by freeze damage to the ovaries. Sex is a donation to a man, not at all something to share, as it can never truly be pleasurable for the woman. However, you're in luck because women happen to release a forever bonding chemical when she loses her virginity, so you won't mind doing what is needed to him. When do you have to? Women, girls do not discharge. It's either dry or period time. Freeze damage sounds like something straight from RPG. Your ovaries received 32 freeze damage. Equips my codpiece of +5 frost resistance. We had a lot of sex ed, and it was weird. It was great to learn, don't get me wrong, but the first time we had it we were 7/8 of a year old and had no idea what this sex thing really is. Our teachers always went into great detail, explaining stuff like different ways of birth control, different sex positions, ways to masturbate, and all that confused, slightly traumatized primary school kids. In secondary school things got less confusing, but we were in that weird phase where everything sex-related is funny. So the teachers had this rule of giving everyone some form of punishment who laughed. At some point we would watch a documentary, and I remember one scene where there was a close-up of a guy's ass. The guy then slowly turned around while getting a boner. Throughout the whole scene there was incredibly epic music in the background and everyone just died from laughter. If you let a man put his penis in your mouth, he will see you as trash. Some basic anatomy. Quick flyby of the development cycle of a baby during pregnancy. Discussion about sex, contraception, STDs, a whole separate talk about AIDS, and a chance to ask questions where someone brought up oral sex. If you have sex in a hot tub, you can't get pregnant. When you go to sleep, your period stops. My friend also believed that girls only had the periods on the full moon cycle. These are things I had other people come to me about because they had no sex ed, and I was the one friend who actually learned something from their parents. God, I wish. A moment of silence for all the sheets ruined over the years. I received absolutely no sex education. I was raised a religious fundamentalist, married at 19 to a girl that was as ignorant as I was, and lost our virginity on our wedding night. Married for 13 years. I learned what and where a clitoris was from my second sexual partner at the age of 32. In other words, your first wife didn't know about her own clitoris. That makes me incredibly sad. I fully believe that she had never masturbated or even knew how in her life. We were taught that it was a sin. She told me once when the subject came up that she wondered if girls that did it with tampon applicators. And it makes me incredibly sad too. She seemed like she enjoyed it, but knowing what I know now, sex could have been so much better for her had either of us known anything about the way her body worked. I wasn't trying to be selfish. I was just very ignorant. We both were. Probably the biggest thing that fucked me up was learning girls don't actually want sex, it's something they give up for guys they like. And guys who want sex from girls are manipulative assholes who aren't interested in girls' personalities. I blame movies and TV, and a lack of openness about the subject from my parents. Eventually though I learned that it's totally possible, as a guy, to both want sex and be a decent, respectful person. Another big one was that female sexuality isn't just centered around men. Girls have a sex drive too and have their own needs to fulfill. I had a bit of a wake-up call when the girlfriend told me I can just say I want to have sex instead of awkwardly trying to romance her with random compliments. I also realized I'd been under the impression that when she asked me if I want to have sex that she was telling me what she wanted, not offering to do me a favor. Thinking about it, actually good, I guess. Pretty awkward though. Early grades we learned about the reproductive organs and how everything functions. Then like grade 7 we learned about STDs and how to put condoms on plastic bananas. And I think it was in a later year they handed out actual dildos to put condoms on. They taught us quite a lot about safe sex and even about abstinence, which apparently went right over my head. And someone must have stolen one of the dildos because there was one in the toilets during lunch. First year of high school. In fucking 2012, women can get pregnant by masturbating. See, when they masturbate, they start to create spermatozoa and they get pregnant. Mind fucking blown.
Hey, you watched all of this video. Thank you so much. Subscribe and watch another content by me.